Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Vishnupad Paramahams Parivrajacharya Status Samad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Sankirtan Yagya Ki Go Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, thank you. So today we're reading, devotees, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 9. Dhruva Maharaj returns home, and we are going to read verses 48, 49, and 50. I'll just read 48 and 49 myself, and we'll do 50 together. Uttamash cha dhruvascho bhav, anyonyam prema vivala, angasangad utpula kav, asrogam muhur uhatu. Translation: the two brothers, Uttama and Dhruva Maharaj, also exchanged their tears. They were overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love and affection, and when they embraced one another, the hair on their bodies stood up. Verse 49. Sunitirasya janani pranebhyo pi priyam sutam upaguhya jahav adim tadanga sparsha nirvrita. Translation: Suniti, the real mother of Dhruva Maharaj, embraced the tender body of her son, who was dearer to her than her own life, and thus forgot all material grief, for she was very pleased. And verse 50 responsively. Paya stanabhyam susrava netra jai salilai shivai tadabhishichyamanabyam vira vira suvo moho payastanabhyam susrava netrajai salilai shivai tadabhishichyamanabyam vira vira suvo moho payastanabhyam susrava netrajai salilai shivai tadabhishichyamanabyam vira vira suvo moho payastanabhyam susrava netrajai salilai shivai tadabhishichyamanabyam Vira vira suvo moho. Ladies, Paya, milk, stanabiam, from both breasts. Susrava began to flow down. Netrajai, from the eyes. Salilai, by tears. Shivai, auspicious. Tada, at that time. Abhishityamanabhyam, being wetted. Vira, my dear Vidura. Virasuva, of the mother who gave birth to a hero. Moho, constantly. Translation: my dear Vidura, Suniti was the mother of a great hero. Her tears, together with the milk flowing from her breasts, wet the whole body of Dhruva Maharaj. This was a great, auspicious sign. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When deities are installed, they are washed with milk, yogurt, and water, and this ceremony is called Abhishek. In this verse, it has been especially mentioned that the tears which flowed down from the eyes of Suniti were all auspicious. This auspiciousness of the Abhishek ceremony performed by his beloved mother was an indication that in the very near future, Dhruva Maharaj would be installed on the throne of his father. The history of Dhruva Maharaj's leaving home was that his father refused to give him a place on his lap, and Dhruva Maharaj determined that unless he got the throne of his father, he would not come back. Now, this Abhishek ceremony performed by his beloved mother was an indication that he would occupy the throne of Maharaj Uttanapad. It is also significant in this verse that Suniti, mother of Dhruva Maharaj, is described as Veera Su, a mother who produced a great hero. There are many heroes in the world, but there is no comparison to Dhruva Maharaj, who was not only a heroic emperor of this planet, but also a great devotee. A devotee is also a great hero because he conquers the influence of Maya. When Lord Chaitanya inquired from Ramananda Roy about the most famous man in this world, the latter replied that anyone who is known as a great devotee of the Lord is to be accepted as the most famous. Payastanabhyam susrava netrajai salilai shivai tadabi shichamana manabhyam vira vira suvo moho. My dear Vidura, Suniti was the mother of a great hero. Her tears, together with the milk flowing from her breasts, wet the whole body of Dhruva Maharaj. This was a great, auspicious sign. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha paditanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, right. So Suniti, the real mother, as Prabhupada puts it, she's so ecstatic. So, well, ecstatic beyond ecstatic. Just, it's something totally out of this world altogether. She had given up hope that her dear son Dhruva might return, and return having been very successful and having really developed, even though he's still young, he's still a boy, but he has developed to be sort of like a man in a boy's body. Yes, so, well, even Suruchi, I assume you read yesterday, even Suruchi greeted Dhruva very nicely, considering the circumstances before. That was something unexpected, but anyway, she had also changed. Dhruva had changed, Suruchi had changed. So particularly here, the first thing at least that Srila Prabhupada focuses on in the purport is that Suniti, the combination of her tears and the water flowing from her breasts, which just poured over Dhruva and made him completely wet. This was, well, actually, it's the way Prabhupada presents it at least, this is an omen. This is a clear indication of something which is going to happen in the future, and in fact which did happen actually not too long afterwards, well, sometime afterwards. It's an omen that Dhruva will become the king. He'll be installed on the throne of his father. So that's the way Srila Prabhupada is taking it, that it's an omen. In Vedic culture, there's a whole science of omens, which is discussed. The main part of the Bhagavatam, as I recall, where it's discussed, is the 14th chapter of the first canto, where Krishna has just, quite not long ago at all, Lord Krishna has left this world and gone back to Goloka Vrindavan. And Arjuna was there, so Arjuna was well aware of what had happened, but he had not yet returned to Hastinapur. Yudhisthira, the king, was in Hastinapur, which was the place of the emperor. So Maharaj Yudhisthira was not aware that Lord Krishna had left this world. By the time Arjuna got back, because it is from Dwaraka to Hastinapur to Delhi, it is, what would you say, it's at least 1,000 kilometers. It could easily be more. From Mumbai to Delhi, I think is 2,000, something like that. So it's really a long way. And devotees in those days, some might find this just, they wouldn't be able to understand it. But in those days, they did not have WhatsApp. They didn't. True. They didn't even have telephones. Are you sure? Yes. They didn't have any of these things. They didn't even have telegrams. Yes, or telex machines. I remember when we had a telex here in what is now the shop, which was the temple president's office, we had a telex machine. All these modern types of communication apparati, etc., they didn't have in those days. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. So Maharaj Yudhisthira was not informed as such that the Lord had left this world until Arjuna returned, having ridden 1,000 or possibly more kilometers, I suppose on a chariot or some sort of horse-drawn system, which, must have taken quite a while. I remember going by buffalo cart from Krishna Balaram Temple, Vrindavan, to Radha Kund, 1976. And it took the whole day. It really took the whole day. From early-ish morning, like, 6 o'clock maybe, we got there, it was getting dark. So, and initially, the driver tried to impress us, he whipped the poor buffalo a bit, and the buffalo sort of took off faster, but then he tripped, poor buffalo, and he kind of fell over. Anyway, so Arjuna only got back after however many days, but it would have been quite some time. Then Maharaj Yudhisthira knew that the Lord had left this world. Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles one time, the devotees, I think it was the BBT devotees, but anyway, some of the devotees had got a telex machine and showed Prabhupada. They sent a message to, I can't remember where, but somewhere else in ISKCON, maybe New York, where they also had a telex machine, and got a reply back immediately. They sent a message like, Prabhupada is here by the machine. It's in, if I remember correctly, it's in Prabhupada Lilamrita. So Prabhupada is here by the machine, and an answer came back immediately. And the devotees, their idea was Prabhupada would be pleased or even impressed, perhaps. But Srila Prabhupada's main comment was that this is going to facilitate the increase of prajalpa. And when it comes to, because telex machines, they are just they're antique things now. But the amount of communications, electronic communications, which is going on now is simply vast and just far more than it was in those days, sometime in the early or mid, maybe 70s, 50 years ago. But the problem is that now there is too much communication, too much information, and people just get swamped and they just cannot absorb it. And I'm one of them. And therefore, so many emails, my Lord. It's just too much. But anyway, the point is that the point here is this is described in the 14th chapter of the first canto. And the thing was that Maharaj Yudhisthira, he did not know, concretely know that Lord Krishna has left this world. But there were many omens that he had seen. And in that chapter, there's quite a number of verses, at least 10, I think more than 10, in which Maharaj Yudhisthira is describing these different omens, like thunder without clouds. This is a bad omen. The deities in the temple crying. What is it? Certain creatures passing him on his left side as opposed to the right side. These are, and there's a few more. You can have a look there and see. And these are all bad omens, and Maharaj Yudhisthira has seen them, and even though he doesn't know that Lord Krishna has left this world, but from these omens, he knows something bad has happened. And because there's so many of these omens, he's thinking that something very bad must have happened. And he's thinking, maybe Lord Krishna left this world, which was the case. And then, of course, Arjuna arrives on the scene and tells him that. You know, Vedic culture is so interesting. Well, here's an interesting part. All those verses, or so many of those verses, which are explaining this inauspicious omen and that inauspicious omen, etc., very few, maybe none of them, have purports, and which sort of leads one to possibly consider that omens may not be so important for devotees. Like a famous one, a real classic, ladies, if any part of the left side of their body starts quivering, twitching, quivering, like, you know, regularly for some time, and even repeating over a period of quite some time, that's taken to be auspicious. But if the right side of their body quivers, ladies, it's meant to be inauspicious. But for men, it's the other way round. For men, it's the other way round. And even, was it Giriraj Maharaj who told me, gosh, you know, like at least 30 years ago, that he had been with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said something to the effect, and I've read it too, if someone, you know, rubs their eyes, like really rubs their eyes, I wasn't touching my eyes, by the way, in front of you, it means that soon you will have some sort of argument or dispute with that person. Haribol. Did he ever say that to you? He did. Yeah, no, he told me that he had the experience with Prabhupada, as I recall, years ago. I mean, there's so many things he told me, actually. I should have written them down. Anyway, because he was with Prabhupada, I would say, more than anyone. So yeah, auspicious and inauspicious. But this is auspicious. Shivai. Shivai is a form of Shiva, according to Sandhi and grammatical arrangements. It's a form of the word Shiva, as in Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, his name means he's auspicious. That's what his name means, the auspicious one. But auspicious and pure, and pure. And as I found it interesting, the first time I read Tattva Sandarbha years and years ago, I forget, maybe 30 years ago, or even a little more, there, Srila Jiva Goswami says that Shiva, meaning pure, and all auspicious, is also a name or a descriptive term for Krishna. So sometimes, because who's more pure? He's more pure than Lord Shiva, and much more auspicious. Yeah, so sometimes, Jiva Goswami says, sometimes where you come across Shiva and you think, oh, Lord Shiva, but no, Krishna is being referred to because he's the most auspicious. So here then, I'm not familiar enough with the science of omens, but so I don't know if this is a standard omen, that where there are tears mixed with breast milk, and they really sort of, a person gets quite drenched, then something good's going to happen. But this is the way it's being applied here. Yes, and, if you ever have association with Subhag Maharaj, which I'm sure some of you have had and will have hopefully for the future, he told me some things about his experiences with omens. He told me he and 2 other devotees, they were going out to make life members or doing some fundraising. Three of them. And they went and knocked on one wealthy, pious Hindu man's door, knocked on the door. The man opened the door, didn't say a word, closed the door in their faces. Really? And then he remembered, if 3 people come to the door, it's inauspicious. Yeah. So 2 of them went back, not long, some days later, knocked on the door. The man opened the door and let them in. And nothing was said about that incident. And there are a few other kind of quite extreme things he told me about his experiences with omens. But, it's a fact these things are there and they do work, although they're on the material platform. And like we said, when Prabhupada discusses this in the 14th chapter of the first canto, he doesn't get into it. He doesn't really get into it because it's material. But anyway, yes, it's abhishek. It's a form of abhishek. Abhishek, our next abhishek will be, public, anyway, in a while. Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day, May the 4th. Yeah, so they'll be bathed. Someone will be bathed in milk, yogurt, and we normally then do ghee, then honey, then sugar water, then water. And that's abhishek. There are different forms of abhisheks. But that's an abhishek, like traditional, official type of abhishek. And it's very nice. It's very beautiful to see the deity bathed like that. It's just so nice. And, sometimes we think, wow, whoever it is must be relishing this, unless the milk is too hot or too cold. But anyway, like that, these types of mistakes do happen. We have observed. Yeah. Once here, we brought back from Russia. Russia is the home of raw honey. We brought back about, half a liter or quarter of a liter of honey, which was, would you believe, 26 years old. And somebody, I forget who it was bathed with that honey, because they keep honey like wine, Hare Krishna, and they say it gets better with age, that sort of thing. Wine, even whiskey, Keep whiskey for 100 years, and it's better. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyway. Krishna. Keep the rotten grape juice for 100 years, and it becomes worth $100,000 or something. It's crazy. I mean, it's just demonstrating the craziness of material life. But here, this was a type. This was definitely a type of abhishek performed by Suniti, and Prabhupada says it was an indication that in the very near future, Dhruva Maharaj would be installed on the throne of his father. And Prabhupada mentions just very, very briefly what had happened. We all know about that. Yes, so it was an indication that he would take the throne, and he did. And then Prabhupada goes on to just a little bit go into the point of Virasu, Virasuva, Virasu or Virasuva, that Suniti was the mother of Vira, a hero. Vira means hero in Sanskrit, and she's Virasu. So, and Prabhupada makes the point, there have been so many heroes in the world, but there's no comparison to Dhruva Maharaj, because he was extremely heroic, but he was also a great devotee. In New Zealand, Haribol. It's Krishna, no? In New Zealand, they're very proud of a man from the Second World War named Upham. I think Charles Upham. He got 2 Victoria Crosses in the Second World War for doing 2 totally crazy things. You know, charging however many of the enemy on his own while they fired machine guns. Like 10 of them fired machine guns at him, and not being shot, but killing them all himself. Something like that. So he's a hero. And that sort of person, Julius Caesar, Anthony, they're considered great heroes historically. Of course, Prabhupada makes the point about, is it either Julius Caesar or Anthony, or both of them? Even though they're big heroes and they destroyed so many people and all that sort of thing. So they're very heroic. But when they met Cleopatra, all she had to do was just smile, and they were defeated. They were on the ground offering dandavats to Cleopatra. So what sort of hero is that? That's not a real hero, but Dhruva, Prabhupada says he was a real hero, and he was a great hero. And not just because he was very powerful in battle, but the main thing, Prabhupada mentions how Lord Chaitanya asks Ramananda Roy, who is the most famous person in the world? And Ramananda Roy replied that anyone who is known, famous, known to be a great devotee of the Lord is to be accepted as the most famous. So Dhruva Maharaj, he really is outstanding. In the Bhagavatam, there's a number of heroes described. There's a number of heroes, warriors. who were also, generally they were also devotees, or many of them were. But Dhruva Maharaj is really quite outstanding, even by the standards of Srimad Bhagavatam. Like Prahlad Maharaj is a hero. He was attacked by all those different people and animals sent by Hiranyakashipu, but he was unaffected. He never became disturbed. He was very cool. He was even thrown off the cliff, but he remained. He didn't become disturbed at all. In fact, quite the opposite. He came up and asked his father if they could do it again, because he liked the flying game, because the Lord caught him. And, this was one of the things which led Hiranyakashipu to ask him, you could say, from the heart. He asked him, where do you get your power from? Because he could see there's something behind Prahlad, something really special and extremely powerful. But still, we don't hear of Prahlad fighting in battles. I mean, to my knowledge at least, maybe he did, but his heroism, at least as far as it seems according to the Bhagavatam, is just how he sort of, you could say, stood up to Hiranyakashipu, even as a child, without becoming distressed. Yes. So therefore Suniti is Vira Su, a mother who has produced a great hero. According to Vedic culture, generally the ladies were not prominent. I mean, sometimes some of them were, but in the great majority of cases, they were not really publicly prominent. Like we read the other day how Suniti, when she came out to meet Dhruva, she came in a palanquin. And those palanquins, and we mentioned how Prabhupada described how his mother used to go out in public if she ever went out on a palanquin. And it wasn't just a chair on sort of arms that the assistants could carry, but it had curtains so people could not see the lady. But a lady, at least traditionally in Vedic culture, a lady would become prominent if she had a son or some sons who became prominent and outstanding people recognized in public and greatly appreciated. So that's the perspective on Suniti here, at least. Virasu or Virasuva, the mother who gave birth to a hero. And Dhruva left when he was 5, and then some number of months went by, right, where he wasn't doing this and he wasn't doing that and he wasn't doing different things, where he wasn't breathing for however 6 months was it, or it was some period of time, and it was disrupting the functioning of the universe. So when he came back, well, it doesn't sound like he's much older, 6 or 7 or 8 or something along those lines, but he's a boy. He's not a youth as far as, coming up to teens or something. So, but still, his mother, even though he's, whatever it is, at least 6 or 7 years old, he must be, depending, I mean, it could probably be calculated how many months he did this and then that. But his mother, in her motherly mood, is producing milk. Yeah. You know, in the modern age, the modern non-devotee mother particularly, in many cases, they will not actually breastfeed their child. In some cases, they will for a little while, but not for long. Get a bottle, stick it in the mouth, and in South Africa, get, anyway, a maid, as you know, and get back to work, because having a baby, you know, it's not so wonderful. But the money, working and getting money, oh, the money is the honey. Yes. So that's the priority. How quickly can I get back to work and get money to buy stuff? But in Vedic culture, the mothers would breastfeed their children until they were school age, like 5, 6, 7 years old. I knew one mother, actually, she was living in our temple in Cato Ridge. She breastfed her son. You remember what was the name? Karunapurna, do you remember her? Bhimasen's wife. She breastfed her son, sometimes Gauranga, you remember him? Gauranga, till he was 10. 10 years old, yeah, I remember. Interesting. But at least they would breastfeed them regularly. I mean, regularly, like every day, for years. Not just for 3 months or 6 months or something like that. And in this way, a real bond forms, particularly between mother and son. And it helps the son later because of the way it influences his consciousness and perception of females, adult females, that when he becomes, you know, like in teenage and the attractions to the opposite sex really start setting in. But it helps the boys be less lusty in their relationships with young women or just with women in general. Because now, you know, I mean, it's so much out of control. It's just another part of the craziness of Kali Yuga society. So yes, that was the natural reaction of Suniti. Milk flowed from her breasts and mixed with her tears. Yes, that was part of her just natural response to being reunited with her lost son. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Any comments or questions? Maharajas, Maharaj. Maharaj, correction, chastisement. Jai, oh, Prabhu.
In relation to Maharaj Yudhisthira, I heard that they knew in Vedic times about electricity, but Yudhisthira Maharaj rejected it. I've only heard someone mentioning something like that.
Okay. Well, what I read I think coming from, anyway, what I read from some authoritative type of source. And I tried, even recently, just a couple of months ago, I tried to find it in the database, but I didn't, was that when Arjuna saved Mayadanava from the fire, then Mayadanava, who was a demon, but somehow, he had a connection with Arjuna. So, but he was a demon, he was like a sort of a technocrat. Yeah. He was expert in all sorts of, particularly the science of machines. And he was so appreciative and grateful to Arjuna for saving his life. Arjuna, right? Yeah. Arjuna saved his life from this fire, which, it was definitely going to kill him. And maybe it was intended to, but anyway, it was definitely going to kill him. That he offered to Arjuna, just tell me what you want, and if I can do it, it's yours, anything. And he offered, the best thing I can give you is I can teach you the science of machines, yantra, Vad or something like that. The science of machines. But Krishna was there, and Krishna told Arjuna, no, don't accept it. It's demoniac. It will affect you. So Arjuna refused. That I heard. The electricity, it's quite possible, but I didn't hear it. Although we know in Bhagavad Gita, when Lord Krishna is describing the spiritual world, I forget the actual Sanskrit terms, but there in the spiritual world, there's no, among one or two other things, no electricity, right? Electricity. Let me just see what it says. Just, my computer's extremely on the ball. Don't worry, it will tell us in no time which verse it is. No sun, moon, or electricity. Here it is. It's 15:6. 15:6, which says, Na tadbhasayate suryo, na shashanko, that's the moon, na pavaka, that's fire, and electricity, pavaka. So, anyway, yeah, that's the way Prabhupada translates it. Be interesting to see, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Baladev Vijayabhushan, in their commentaries, if they use the term electricity. But knowing how advanced Vedic society was, we mentioned the other day, they definitely had equipment to cool, not just cool, but make cold things. Because they had foodstuffs which are traditionally served cold. They were able to make things cold. How they did that, I don't know. I was reading just the other day, devotee asked Prabhupada on a morning walk, Srila Prabhupada, in Goloka Vrindavan, do they have fog? And Prabhupada didn't respond, I think, as I recall. Do they have mist? And then a couple of other devotees asked a couple of other sort of related questions, and Prabhupada didn't seem to be very impressed. And Prabhupada said, why don't you just go there and find out? It's one of my Prabhupada stories. Okay, anyone else? Jai. Yes, Jai.
You speak about omens, I was thinking of when Duryodhana was born, and there were so many auspicious.
When what?
Duryodhana.
Oh, Duryodhana. Oh, yes. Shoo. That was a classic.
And they advised his father to get rid of him.
Oh, yeah, they didn't just advise him. They told him, kill him now. You have to. Otherwise, he's going to destroy you. Yeah, thank you. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Right. And, I've had personal experience in Vrindavan, because, Vrindavan is very Vaishnav, but Vrindavan is also, there's a very Vedic side to Vrindavan. Yeah, some of the people we don't really mix with so much, they're more on the Vedic side, Vedic and Vedic, and like following Vedic traditional ideas, including these omens. And I've had people make a point of passing me on with their right side to me. Yeah. Which means they consider you auspicious. And I've had people make a point of passing me with me on their left side, which means they consider you inauspicious. It's one of the sort of classic ones. Yeah. It was one time, I remember, the devotees went a bit wild. I had garlands on, just, down to the feet, like 15 garlands or more. And they'd put sandalwood paste on my forehead. So, I sort of looked like a certain type of person by their standards. And the people were so impressed. They were so impressed. And they parted to let me through and went on the right side. And, down by Govindaji, the Ranganath, the big Ranganath temple, you get people like that. And different places. Hare Krishna. That's all? More?
You mentioned Yudhishthira was visiting Arjuna. I just remember one. Did you meet the woman of your repute?
Right. Yeah, right. Yes. Even, what is it? When Kasyapa finds Aditi in a state, and she can't speak even, and he's asking her, did this happen? Did that happen? What could have caused you to be so disturbed? It's not omens, but the first thing he asks, did an uninvited guest come and you weren't able to receive him properly? Anyway, that's sort of that's etiquette. Yeah, that he felt that was just about the most likely thing to distress her to the point of being uncontrollable. That an uninvited guest came and she couldn't look after him properly somehow. Anything else? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.